good. Hello? Hi? Are we on? Hey, everybody. Welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from GiantBomb.com. I'm not feeling so hot, but I am feeling hot enough to do this show with you all, which is brought to you by MSI. It's going to be a good one. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Capcom remaking its other survival horror series, or maybe not, and a new showcase from one of Sega's most prolific studios. Like I said, going to be a good one because we have Sean TurboShawn McDowell on the show. Sean, how are you doing?
Jeff, I was hearing an echo up until just then. I was really struggling to figure it out, but I no longer feel like I'm going crazy. So hi.
Okay.
How's it going?
That's like the worst feeling in the world where you can't figure out what tab is doing that, what program, where it's coming from.
I was so worried that the audience was going to hear that and no one was saying anything in chat. So I'm like, okay, cool. Nobody would have known if I just didn't say anything, but I was losing my mind. So I need everybody to know that.
Yeah, we're piecing stuff together over here right now. Jan's out. Sean offered to do this because I was going to do it. It would have been fine, but my upload was being crazy. I have no idea. I'm like, honestly, that's going to bug me the whole show. Is like, why is that happening? Because I did test everything this morning and it should have been fine. So
yeah, but
that's a fun one.
Spectrum, been there.
Yeah, I think it's probably something Spectrum for sure. All right, Sean, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Jeff. If people have been following the saga, I am now finished with Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, and let me tell you, it's a good video game, Jeff.
Good game. Yep.
I had a lot of fun with that. I think still my only real gripe is the boss fights go on a bit long, but outside of that, I think it was an enjoyable time. I liked the challenging action platforming. That was very fun.
Yeah, it's like going to be a good compliment actually to Shinobi, because I think Shinobi leans a little bit more towards combat action, and Ninja Gaiden had a little bit more platforming action.
Yeah.
People complain about the platform in Shinobi. I don't think I'm deep enough in there to know if I dislike it or not. It is definitely a little stiff in its platforming, but I kind of feel like I can excuse that and kind of in my head call it, it's just deliberate. It just has a deliberate feel to it. I don't know. We'll see. I probably will get frustrated at some point and come back and complain about it. But it's definitely like the other thing that you do apart from the amazing combat. So yeah, I went from Ninja Gaiden to Shinobi, enjoying that. Although I did have to, deload Shinobi from my Steam Deck to get back on Expedition 33.
How's that going? I know you talked about it in the Bombcast, but still.
It's going, although, like I said, I kind of just got it loaded back up, and then I went to the Paintress, and then I'm like, I was not expecting it to. Okay, this is happening.
Yeah, so, yeah, they go wild with that.
Yeah, so and then I had other things happening, so I'm like, okay, I should get back to that because I'm very excited to see what happens there. So yeah, very good game that I continue to be super into. You know what? We're starting late, so let's explain what we do here. We're Giant Bomb. You can go to giantbomb.com/join. Help us out. Help us make stuff. Help us keep doing cool stuff. Help us get out to stuff like SGF and the Game Awards. Do our own Game Awards. All of that cool stuff. If you like it, you can make sure we can do more of it by supporting us. And the best way to do that is giantbomb.com/join. Gets you ad-free shows. Gets you some other extra goodies. I keep prepping some stuff that we're gonna try to get out there for you guys on some premium only stuff. We'll get that all sorted out once Jan's back. In the meantime, as far as this show goes, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings, or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Capcom apparently tried to remake Dino Crisis, but eventually canned it. This is from My Nintendo News. Yeah, let's do this thing. Capcom fans have been asking for a new Dino Crisis game, or alternatively remakes, for years now. And according to Capcom insider Dusk Gullum, they've attempted to do it, but the results led to it being canned. They say lead it to it being canned here. That's one of my real pet peeves, Sean, is people mixing up lead and lead. In this case, it's got to be LED, everybody. Please, for the love of God. He went on to say that there have been a couple attempts in the last decade to remake Dino Crisis. The first to do this was Capcom Vancouver, and obviously that ain't a thing no more, before they were ultimately shut down. Capcom tried again just a couple of years ago, but the results weren't up to management's satisfaction, so that was ultimately canned. Sean, I definitely heard about a Dino Crisis remake a couple of years ago, and then what happened? That Exoprimal game came out. I'm like, is this what I was
we
hearing
all
about?
we all assumed that the Dino Crisis rumblings turned into Exoprimal, but no, I guess it was separate projects, huh?
Yeah, it was like at the time I was like, no, there's still separate projects. I'm like, okay, weird, because Exoprimal's got the lady with the glove. She looks like she's from Dino Crisis.
That's
so
what
like,
Regina's known for. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you think happened here? Because I mean, to me, it's like I still think this feels like an eventual no-brainer. They're saying it wasn't up to snuff, wasn't good enough. I don't know. What do you think? They're just like, let's not disrupt the flow we have going with Resident Evil unless Dino Crisis was going to be perfect. What do you think happened?
Yeah, I think what it has to be is that it was sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy going on there, where they apparently weren't giving it to one of their A teams necessarily, because Capcom Vancouver, that's who was doing Dead Rising now, right? Or
That sounds right. Yeah.
most recently, I should say. I can't remember what they did otherwise, but it sounds like, yeah, if they're not giving it to any of the main Resident Evil teams, then they were kind of hoping for someone else to spin up something successful, and it just wasn't happening because Dino Crisis, first of all, had a bit of an identity crisis. It started out a little more Resident Evil, got a little more action, and so I think it never really settled into one specific thing. Resident Evil kind of had the same problem. It was just more successful in going to action. So maybe just whatever was coming out of there, they just weren't happy with and didn't think, oh, this doesn't feel right for what we want. Even though they weren't internally the ones, or, Capcom Vancouver still internal, but they weren't like, the main RE team or anyone related being the ones to do it, which is weird.
So to me, that sounds like we get past a lot of these Resident Evil remakes, and then Capcom looks around and tries to keep that train going, and then maybe Dino Crisis makes more sense at that point, once it's not like, okay, well, we're not taking someone off of Resident Evil. We've already remade all of those. So now the main Resident Evil remake teams can work on Dino Crisis, and we trust them to do a good job with it. I mean, does that sound plausible still, or is that copium?
Opium and or copium, absolutely,
yeah, and or.
Jeff. Yeah, I don't know. It's a long line of we just talked about this like one or 2 weeks ago about wanting them to try more things and to really put effort into it on their part, and this reads to me as them not really wanting to do that, which is I just find a bit odd, because you can't, if you're not getting your best teams to work on something, at least for that initial entry, to get it out the door, how can you expect it to live up to the standards of any of your other big franchises? Like, for example, if they put out another fighting game, but they contracted someone else to do it, well, it's not necessarily going to live up to the standards of Street Fighter 6. And if that's what you're holding everything up to, well, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. Again, I know, like, apparently this was internal, but it was like the secondary teams per se.
Yeah, but very likely was. I mean, because a lot of these other Resident Evil projects, they're spoken for, and those almost certainly were not going to be put to the side for Dino Crisis. And I think the troubling thing for Dino Crisis is it's definitely a franchise that has cachet with people. People remember it to a certain degree if you were around at that time. It's like, yeah, there was Resident Evil, but also Dino Crisis, and that's fun. But no one then goes, and it was an amazing game without any flaws. It's okay, and in some cases it's not great. It might be like in a Resident Evil 3 situation where maybe it needs a little bit more love and to get updated. So I bet part of that is, okay, we will need to rework this game in a lot of ways, and we kind of only trust the top tier studio to do that, and the top tier studio is too busy to get around to that right now. Yeah, we'll see. Like a couple years from now, I do imagine they will think about circling back to this. And I guess I'm glad they didn't put out some lackluster a cheap version of Dino Crisis just because they felt like they had to. They definitely don't have to in this moment. I think we did talk about in a couple of years they're going to have to keep kind of diversifying here a little bit, introduce something that could be another pillar or a replacement for the Resident Evil remakes once they run out of those. But
Right.
they probably shouldn't rush to like freak out about those oncoming needs. And then in that case put out a game that is not quality. So if it wasn't going to be good, probably the right choice not to follow through with it. But I don't think this is the last we've heard of Dino Crisis.
Hopefully not, yeah, because in the long run, they need to diversify a little bit. I know they are putting out, Pragmata, which I would always like to remind you, Jeff, suck it, that game is real. But also they're doing Onimusha and Okami. They are bringing stuff back. They are putting out new ones. But Capcom has kind of always done this. Even in their lower points, they were still putting out, like in the Resident Evil 6 days, they were still trying stuff with stuff like Remember Me.
Yeah.
And so they put out games. This is not new for them. It's just that it's game development. It's taking a lot longer. It's a lot harder. We're never going to get back to the 90s glory days of a new Capcom game every quarter or whatever the hell it was. But it would be nice to at least get back to more franchises having their chance to shine, especially some of the more beloved ones that haven't been around for a really long time.
Yep. All right, let's keep moving here. We'll stick with Capcom. Resident Evil Requiem may be the most extreme in the series, says director. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Next year, Resident Evil Requiem will introduce players to Grace Ashcroft, the newest protagonist in the franchise. In the trailers shared so far, Grace has been way over her head in danger. That's how she enters the story, but she won't remain that way forever. According to director Koshi Nakanishi, Grace's transformation from helpless to powerful may represent the most extreme gap in the franchise. We're at the testing phase now in development as we gear up to the February release, and even as we play it internally, putting ourselves in the mindset of the players, I really feel that it's going to be an incredible roller coaster, Nakanishi told Eurogamer. They're going to feel like that curve of tension to release is going to be, it's perhaps the most extreme gap between those two axes. The points on that curve are going to be so far apart from each other that it's going to be incredible. So by extreme, what he's meaning here is like we've seen the setup, right, a bunch of times now of Grace Ashcroft is helpless, is running away from a monster that she can do nothing about. There is no way to fight back. Jan went hands-on with it. He confirmed that was the case. That, yeah, he's like, you just try to survive. You just try to get away. There's no turning around, aiming, firing, anything. Now, I think I thought it was safe to assume that there would be an other side to that where, like, this is Resident Evil today. They're not going to want to completely forsake the action side of things for their next new big Resident Evil game. So they will find some way to incorporate that. I was under the assumption that they would bring back a familiar character and do it that way and be like, okay, here's an alternative path and we'll flash between these two characters. But maybe it does make more sense to be like, no, Grace Ashcroft becomes capable and learns how to use a gun and shoots these fuckers in the face. Does that sound good to you?
Sounds good to me. I like that idea.
Yeah, me too.
I don't like my man bringing up trigonometry when explaining the game here and her arc. But outside of that, no, I think with Resident Evil, it is so often, an agent, a cop, someone who is experienced with some kind of crisis situation. And it is more recently that we did see with Ethan in 7 that he does start off as more of just the normal dude. It's actually his wife who's sort of involved in the typical Resident Evil stuff. So he's sort of thrust into this situation, and he does become the Ethan Winters who, ends Resident Evil 8. And he is just, using giant guns and, big ol' armaments and stuff like that. And so I think that's probably the type of story that they're going to tell with Grace as well. Maybe because they want to invoke even more fear. She does start off even more meek. We saw that from the trailer. She is a little skittish even as an adult, and she's going to have to learn to fight in whatever situation she's in. I think that is appealing, though. I think that it's a good arc for a character to have, especially in the Resident Evil world. And maybe Grace will even be a different character of still not being a great fighter. Maybe she'll have some external help or something. Leon or Jill or someone will show up and help her out. But I do think it's going to make for an interesting game.
Yeah, I want it to be like Alien Sigourney Weaver all the way through Alien 2 Sigourney Weaver, where she's like in a mech suit.
Oh,
and,
sure.
yeah, destroying things. That would be a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that I trust this studio with Resident Evil these days to really find the balance of stuff that is scary and then still be able to bring in all that action that the franchise has really crushed recently, and well, for a long time now. So, and you know, Resident Evil 4 being that the one that get remade most recently, and it's selling very well. It's the best-selling Resident Evil game now, I believe. They recognize that, and they're like, we want to do both, and I think they can make a game that is big enough and can hold itself up to being both things without one feeling like it's being pushed to the side and forgotten about.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. You know what? Let's take a break. When we come back, plenty more headlines to get into. We got to hear from MSI first. You can go to giantbomb.com/join to get the ad-free version of the show. Let's go to the break right now. Jan, my computer's sick. I've decided it's time to start building a new one. I just don't know where to start.
Grubb, if your computer is sicky poo, you got to start with MSI, which just dropped something big in its brand new Z890 and B860 Intel motherboards.
Are those the motherboards that unlock the power of the Intel Core Ultra Series 2 CPUs?
Yes, sir. These Mobos, as we're calling them on the streets, are powerhouses for gaming, streaming, and whatever intense tasks you need to throw at them.
Okay, but Jan, you know me. I'm scared of tools. That screwdriver's so sharp.
It's okay, bud. MSI made them Jeff-proof and maybe Dan-proof as well, which means they're easy to work with. No more wrestling with tiny little screws or confusing manuals. We're talking easy debug LEDs that tell you exactly what's going on. Toolless installs for your M2 drives and GPUs, or GPUs. We're calling them GPUs too now.
Okay, hell yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. MSI has that modern BIOS as well that looks like it was actually made for humans to use, not some relic from 2003. Give me more of that.
Yes, that's right. It's going to be so easy to get secure boots on the ground. It's like PC building on easy mode, Grubb. And here's the best part. Giant Bombcast listeners, MSI is giving you 10% off these new, regularly priced Z890 and B860 boards. Just head over to us-store.msi.com and use promo code BOMBCAST at checkout. Boom, instant savings.
I'm going to stack that discount. They allow you to do that. And with MSI's got ongoing promotions, that's potentially going to score me up to $120 in Steam codes. It's basically free games just for upgrading. Everyone listening should do the same.
So if you're ready to upgrade your setup, do not wait. Visit us-store.msi.com and use the code BOMBCAST, BOMCAST, all in lowercase, and give your PC the upgrade it deserves.
MSI, making PC building less of a headache and a lot more fun.
Mobo!
Are we muted? Oh, no.
Not anymore. Just roll with it.
I'll roll with it all. Thanks for tuning into Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Sean TurboShawn McDowell. Let's get back into the headlines here. With Unreal Engine 5, performance issues are mainly due to devs not optimizing properly. That's according to Epic CEO Tim Sweeney. I'm sure does not have any biases there. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC, the CEO of Epic Games, who suggested that some platforms struggled to run Unreal Engine 5 games because developers aren't optimizing them properly. It's been suggested in recent years that Unreal Engine 5's demanding technical requirements can sometimes mean that running UE5 games on less powerful hardware can result in poor performance and sluggish gameplay. Epic Games founder and CEO Tim Sweeney, who created Unreal Engine in the first place, says the reason for this isn't necessarily the fault of the engine itself, but the way developers are using it. In a media roundtable interview during the latest Unreal Fest event in Seoul, South Korea, Sweeney was asked if Epic Games was doing anything to address claims of optimization issues with Unreal Engine 5 games. As reported by Korean website This Is Game, Sweeney suggested that too many developers focus on making their games for the most powerful hardware, then try to optimize for less powerful systems at the end of the development process, causing issues. There's a quote here. Excuse me. The primary reason why Unreal Engine 5 based games don't run smoothly on certain PCs or GPUs is the development process, Sweeney explained via machine translation. Many developers develop games for high-end hardware, then perform optimization and testing on lower spec devices in the final stages of development. Of course, optimization is by no means an easy task. It's a very challenging one. Ideally, optimization should be implemented early in development before full-scale content builds begins. We are preparing two major solutions to address this issue. One is to strengthen Unreal Engine support. Optimization requires significant manual effort, so we plan to provide automated optimization features for various devices, making the process faster and easier for developers. The other is to strengthen development training. In addition to providing education on the overall testing and optimization process, it's crucial to raise awareness of the importance of early optimization. If necessary, our engineers can provide direct intervention to raise awareness of optimization techniques and provide technical assistance. He goes on, but
Of course he does.
yes, of course he does. Yeah, God, that's just not been the experience I've noticed. I feel like it's like, no, just every Unreal Engine 5 game has some technical issue on my 5080. What are we talking about here?
I saw someone in Twitch chat just summed up perfectly. Like, it's like the goose chasing the dude meme of like, and why is UE5 so hard to optimize, Tim? Whose job is that, Tim?
Yeah, and it's Unreal Engine 4, I remember that kind of launching around the time the Switch 1 was coming out, and the kind of the great news there was like, oh, it's super scalable, Unreal Engine 4. And we got some Unreal Engine 4 games right away on the Switch. Snake Pass was one. And they had, it used dithering and all this stuff to really scale down the visuals, but the game ran fine. And then, it's just since then, that was around the time Fortnite was happening. You could just see Epic Games being like, all right, we're going to pile in all of these features on top that we need for Fortnite, and we're going to build Unreal Engine 5 for big open games. And it's like, but big open games with a ton of shit in them. And it feels like it has never been as scalable as it was 8 years ago now. And they just it doesn't feel like it's going in that direction at all. It feels like it continues to trend away from being scalable.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is that I mean, I kind of just joked about there, but they aren't focusing on that scalability, on optimization. They're focused on pushing graphics and pushing the boundaries of stuff. But it does lead to things like, well, that means we're not getting 60 FPS console games as much anymore unless you have some higher tier console like the PS5 Pro that can handle the extra like GPU headroom and everything like that it needs. And that sucks because they should be focusing on this stuff. Like I know the Digital Foundry guys, Alex in particular, stutter struggle is real, where up until just recently, Unreal Engine 5 was horrible about shader compilation stutter, just like UE4 before it. So you did have it on PC where there could be those massive gaps. And like, he's technically not wrong that devs aren't optimizing as much as they need to have that finished product, but the points does still stand that UE5 is difficult to optimize in that way. I'm not a developer, I can't tell you exactly why that is, but you wouldn't have all these games having all the exact same issue to varying levels if the engine wasn't just difficult to work with to get it to that optimization step. And if Epic is going to, it's really just Tim running his mouth, but if Epic is going to push that on the developers, well, then it's on Epic to help out the developers in more of like the first party console situation where Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, they'll have their internal devs work with external devs to get things running well on the platform, especially if it's a big new release. Epic needs to do something like that if they're going to push that, I'm not trying to think of the right word there, but the responsibility off onto the developers. Either that or just make the engine easier to work with and more optimized out of the box. Maybe reprioritize what you're doing with the engine, because I do see the sentiment more and more and more that we've hit the point of diminishing returns with graphics. I'm not sure how much we need to focus on pushing really advanced new tech, especially now we do have ray tracing that works well on PC, that's trickling down to the consoles and everything like that. Maybe they should work on getting Unreal Engine to a better place first, right?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be some of the frustrating aspects of this for developers reading this, being like, okay, now you're promising you're going to improve the testing and optimization process, and you're going to improve education. So we're relying on you to do something. So we're going to keep working with your tools with the understanding that in a couple of years, things should be a lot better, right? Because you're acknowledging this and you're saying that you're going to try to improve things. And I don't believe it. I don't really think that that's the way it's going to work out. I think they will tend to lean back into new features, new graphical things. Scott, this is an NVIDIA thing, but that RTX hair thing, it's like, yeah, that's where we continue to be, where we're just adding a bunch of mostly useless features from these companies to make sure that people, when they're choosing something, because I get what happens here. The reason a team or a company chooses a tool set is very different than the reason people like using it or not, or don't like using it. So when they're picking it off the shelf, Unreal Engine 5 looks very compelling because it has all of the features you want to make all of the cool things you want. And your optimization is something far down the road at that point. And then later when you're actually using it, it's like, okay, we have all this stuff, but getting this thing to do what I want in a way that is optimized is super challenging. And we just didn't think about that. But now with sunk costs, we can't switch now. We got to get this working. So, and it's not like there are a lot of other options. Although, we have heard recently.
There are, but yeah, not a ton.
Not a ton. And we've heard recently, who was it? It was a Bandai Namco that said they were going to start making their own internal engine.
Yeah.
They're going to use that probably for a lot of their anime games or whatever. So they kind of know what they need over there. They've used Unreal and now they're making their own engine. So maybe we kind of swing back in that direction a little bit. And that's where the competition for Unreal pops up. And they're like, oh no, now we really do have to address these things.
Yeah, because later in the statement, Tim does say, we can provide training to people and we are trying our best to optimize the engine and everything. Maybe the point I'm getting at is that's too little too late. Because we had so many games to release in poor states because of issues with the engine itself that, hey, why wasn't this stuff here from the get-go? And rather than focusing on, getting... yes, you have situations like Fortnite being super well optimized. That's great that your money maker is super well optimized and everything like that. But yeah, like you just said, with Bandai Namco and other companies saying, we're kind of fed up with how difficult it can be to get this running well. We're just going to figure something else out because at this point, it's just not worth it. Maybe the way that revenue split works, that's not worth it either, especially for the headaches that they're having. The engine's just not in a great place in general, and they can try to make it better, but they either need to move a hell of a lot faster or figure something else out because the situation just ain't working.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to remain in a state of when I see a new, especially open world game, and I hear it's running on Unreal Engine 5, I will I will wince and be skeptical and be like, we'll see. All right, moving ahead. Starfield getting a second story DLC and more. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. Bethesda is not finished supporting 2023's spacefaring RPG Starfield. Lead creative producer Tim Labs said in a new video that fans can look forward to many new updates to the game over time, including a second story DLC. I'm really excited for players to see what the team has been working on. We have some cool stuff coming, including free updates and features that that players have been asking for, as well as a new DLC story. I can't go into all the details just yet, but I will say part of the team has been focused on space gameplay to make the travels there more rewarding. We're also adding some new, or rewarding at all. We're also adding some new game systems and a few other smaller delights. Starfield's first story DLC, Shattered Space, released in September. Last September. It added a new planet along with more weapons and gear. There is no word on what the next story DLC might entail. I don't know what to make of Starfield these days. A game that I thought was a really kind of meek 3 out of 5. At best, and then not one I was going to be rushing back to unless I heard fantastic things about the story DLC. And Shattered Space, it was kind of all, ooh, that is also making me wince.
Yeah, so, seeing some 4 out of 10s and stuff on that one, I remember.
So I fully put Starfield to the side of, I'll probably never play that game again. If I want to go play some Bethesda shit, I'll go back. I want to play more Oblivion. That's great. That remake's been fantastic. I'll play that. So what do you think they can do here to get sort of some of the shine back on this product?
Well, speaking of potentially too little, too late, I think we might have another one on our hands where people don't like Starfield. I know it has this dedicated audience, but I mean, broadly speaking, people clown on Starfield constantly. And I do think that maybe it's a bit overblown. I do think, you know, that meek 3 out of 5, that's a good way of putting it. Because, yeah, I like my vibe check score that game was like a 6. I think it's a fine, okay video game. That's just not what people were expecting from Bethesda. Even if the game was going to be buggy, which we expected, it just kind of wasn't fun because it was lacking so many things. And they're sort of building the spaceship mid-flight, it would seem here. And quite literally, yeah, why was flying not a bigger part of this? That's kind of what people want to do in space. And there was some of that, but it was like in orbit. I don't know if they added more of that in the DLC or anything, but these are the kind of things that really should have been there day one. And you look at the game and say to yourself, why did you not incorporate this initially? Did no QA people tell you that this is what people would expect? Or did you just ignore them? Which I think from stuff we maybe heard internally at Bethesda is probably more likely the case, right?
Oh, yeah. I think they fully were aware of the game that they made and the game that they didn't make. And they were like, every day we work on this game as our primary project is another day that Elder Scrolls 6 takes forever to come out. We got to get this thing out at some point. I still don't expect Starfield to have a No Man's Sky arc here where it fully comes back and people are like, oh my God, look at all these updates.
That would be sick if it did. But
it'd be sick if it did. But you know, No Man's Sky's still doing that. They just got an update apparently where you could have multiple people on a spaceship and kind of like crew it together. I'm like, that sounds awesome. I'll
cool.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Starfield, I mean, it makes some like underlying foundational improvements, and I will probably glance in its direction, but that is too little, too late. I think there was a time where I would have been much more likely to be okay. When I land on a planet, can you make something interesting? Like, or if there is something interesting on the planet, I would land right next to it. Why am I always landing a 5 minute walk away from it? Why?
And the walk isn't fun.
The walk is nothing. There's just nothing to it. It's crazy. So like. I get it if like, okay, I landed at the interesting point and then I saw on my sightline another interesting thing and then I walked to that and then that was a 5 minute walk where I have to fight some stuff. Maybe I could take that, but it just every time landing on a planet, 5 minute boring walk to a thing that probably also isn't very interesting. Yeah. Those are like basic complaints about the game. We're talking about the second story DLC. We should be talking about like, have you improved or have you have exciting new features to introduce to this game? And I'm just not even interested in what they might be saying about that.
We've done the whole live service games getting a 2 thing, and everyone saw that failed. And I've been saying for so long that they are dumb. Don't put out a 2, like an Overwatch 2 or whatever. 2.0, though. Enough people know what that means now that you can put out 2.0, and it's clear, okay, this is the same game, but that's like... Even if you don't really know, you're like, oh, that's a code thing. That's like, oh, that's a big update or whatever. I see that on my iPhone or whatever. I know what that means. And that's what Starfield needs. Starfield needs the big 2.0. Like or whatever version number it would be, just call it 2.0. But just that big update that fixes everything. Lean into it in the marketing. Say, hey, we fixed everything. We know that things were messy. But guess what? All that stuff you want, it's here now. You're right. We don't need to worry about more story DLC, especially if it didn't go so well the first time around. I know it was probably already in development, but pivot sometimes, you know?
Yeah, and and I think that's us speaking for ourselves. We did mention that audience of dedicated Starfield players who this probably is for. And if that's what this game is going to be, that's also fine, right? That you don't have, not everything has to be like fixed to my exact circumstances, but I feel like they probably wanted this game to be bigger, and I think that's what we're speaking to.
Yeah, just speaking off the cuff, though, how big can that audience really be at this point?
I don't think it's very big. I don't think it's very big. Yeah, it's certainly not as big as they thought it was going to be for this game. So that's where this conversation that you and I are having is coming from. Is we understand that they had bigger, dollar signs in their eyes for this game at one point. That has gone away. Are they still trying to recapture that, or are they just giving this thing a graceful exit over time? The handful of updates. They kind of serve that audience that really likes it. The Greg Millers of the world.
I also immediately thought of my friend who bought it and then put it down, never touched it. But then I had the light bulb moment of, oh, wait a second, he bought it. That's why they're doing story DLC.
Yep, exactly. They saw that happen. They did sell a lot of copies. It did, but, you know, fixing the game doesn't make money. It only loses money. Story DLC will get you at least some money in the door. Yep. Crystal Dynamics announces another round of layoffs, says Tomb Raider is unaffected. This is from Chris Scullion at VGC. Crystal Dynamics has announced that it has laid off more of its employees, the third such announcement in 2 years. The layoffs were confirmed in a statement posted on the studio's official LinkedIn page, but exact numbers were not provided. Today, we made the very difficult decision to part ways with a number of our talented colleagues as the result of evolving business conditions. This decision was not made lightly. It was necessary, however, to ensure the long-term health of our studio and core creative priorities in a continually shifting market. Blah blah blah. Same as always. These messages here from these companies during layoffs. It always sounds exactly the same. Let's see here. I'm going to see if we get any more details. I'm pretty sure they mentioned some numbers later on in the story. Crystal Dynamics previously confirmed in September 2023 that it had laid off a number of employees as part of internal restructuring efforts. Another round of layoffs was announced in March of this year, affecting a further 17 employees. I bet this one's also around that size. This also feels like it is further a knock-on effects from losing the deal to make Perfect Dark with the initiative over at Microsoft. Crystal Dynamics was involved in that. That was canceled officially last month. And I wonder if they were like trying to figure out, like, can we get another project? Can we do something else? Let's talk to Microsoft. Maybe they need us for something else. And that does not seem to have happened. And so anyone who's not working on Tomb Raider sounds like they were probably going to be affected by this.
Yeah, I was going to say, what happened recently that really shook up Crystal Dynamics? Gee, I wonder. Maybe, fuck Microsoft.
Yep. And this is so Crystal Dynamics was at Embracer, and then are they at Amazon now?
Well, that's the IP is over there.
Tomb Raider's definitely at Amazon. Yeah, but
I don't think the studio is owned by them.
But they're not at Embracer anymore, right? Or wait, or did they get embraced from from Square Enix? That's what happened.
I thought that is the situation as it stands right now. I don't think that's changed.
Yeah, okay. I thought there was like some studios that got out of Embracer. There were, but maybe it wasn't Crystal Dynamics.
I unfortunately don't think they were one of them.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. They're still stuck in there. They have the deal with Amazon for Tomb Raider, and that is something that Amazon does still seem pretty hot to get done. And probably because there's a multimedia strategy, they're going to have probably movies, TV shows, animated stuff, and a game. And the games have done well, so they can that can be pretty predictable. Although, you know, I bet morale is very low at Crystal Dynamics, and that's not going to get that game done. I think we've talked about like what happened here, what led to this with Microsoft and all that stuff to death a little bit. But I mean, does this say anything about the wider video game industry right now to you?
Shit's bad, yo. I'm not sure what else to say about that one. Things are bad everywhere. I think the AAA space is cooked. I can't think of any other word to describe it right now. There's problems at every studio. We constantly see it with layoffs and everything. It is a lot of it Western studios and US studios in particular, because we don't have protections in place for employees. That also means that you see mass hirings followed by mass firings like a year or two later, or as soon as the next project gets out the door. That's something that really needs to change in our culture over here with development. And it just gets more and more depressing every time we hear stuff like this happen.
Yep. Let's move to the next story. Xbox Cloud Gaming now works with lower Game Pass tiers. This is from Ben Lyons at Game Reactor. Before we get into this, as always, Microsoft and Xbox specifically is under the BDS boycott call because they're making a lot of money off of supporting a genocide and a ethnic cleansing.
Once again, fuck them.
Fuck Microsoft. Xbox is further blurring the lines between its console and PC offering. A new update has been announced for Game Pass, one which will make cloud streaming technology available for the lower tiers of Game Pass, both core a failure or it hasn't worked. I talked to Matt Piscatelli yesterday. He points out it is working in certain territories that are not the territory that I'm in. Brazil I think you mentioned maybe India. There was another
Sure.
one. Oh, it was South Korea. South Korea and Brazil.
Places with good internet, sure.
Yes, places with good internet, and also a strong gaming scene, and also probably a number of reasons, especially in Brazil, where it'd be difficult to get some of these games running on whatever hardware you have, because they have their own tariffs in Brazil, which is one of the reasons why they had like the Genesis for 25 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. It does work in some places. Every time I think about using Xbox Cloud Gaming, my skin crawls because it's such a terrible experience.
It's so bad.
It's so bad. Starting up a game takes 3 minutes to 5 minutes. It's crazy.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And then it's like the image quality is not great. It's pretty bad actually. In the latency, whatever. That's the known problem that everyone always worries about. That one's not as much of a problem as much as just everything else around it is frustrating and not fun.
Yeah.
Do you think this moves the needle, I guess? Do you think anyone on lower Game Pass tiers is interested in Xbox Cloud Gaming?
I think people who are already subscribed will try it. But I think the perception, even the casual audience of cloud gaming, is not good right now, because they do hear from other people, from news outlets and stuff, that, yeah, Xbox's cloud stuff, it's not great. Like, there's other better options that are maybe even more technical, but you do see Nvidia pushing GeForce Now, which is a really good service.
That works.
I don't think I've ever told this story before on air, but Jeff, when I was practicing for a tournament one time, I was just in something weird happened where Guilty Gear was not installed on my PC, and I had some downtime. I'm like, man, I want to like get some training mode in, but it's not installed. My internet was bad. Oh, wait a second. It's on GeForce Now. Let me fire this up. And no joke, in something even as Strive is a little bit slower, but even as fast paced as Guilty Gear, it felt like offline for a second. I forgot that I was playing a streaming game. That's how low latency it was, and the image quality was good and everything like that. That's what streaming needs to be. And from everything I've heard from people, if you're close to whatever data centers Microsoft is using for stuff, it can be good. I have just never had the experience at home when I'm traveling. Wired, Wi-Fi, console, browser, it does not matter. I just always have a bad experience with that. And I think that is trickling down a little bit, where people are not as interested, at least as they maybe could be, about tech like this. And so I think that's maybe why we're seeing them push it to the lower tiers, is because they want more people trying it. They want to try to get more people on board, and hopefully enough people who don't notice the same things we will stay subscribed, because they do like the convenience of it. And I think one day this may be the future of gaming. I just think, at least with the console solutions, with both Xbox and PlayStation, we are still so far away from it.
Yeah, it is at least something that they can activate as, this is something that does bring in some money. It's as part of Xbox Game Pass. People are paying for that, but they get this as part of that. And so we can justify it. We can put it in the budget sheet for when we build new data centers.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. It's like some money's coming in because of these data centers, because of Xbox Cloud Gaming. And people probably aren't using it to that degree to actually justify that. But it probably helps them make it make sense a little bit internally. Beyond that, though, I don't know. I'm not going to be using Xbox Cloud Gaming anytime soon. None of this does anything for me. I don't hear people clamoring for this either. People are happy to just use the boxes that they have. And if they don't have one of these boxes, they are not going to say to themselves, I'm going to get Game Pass so I can use the cloud version and play on a different device. They'll just find some other method of playing whatever game, or they just won't play the games that are available on Game Pass. So
right, they're trying to capture the mobile audience and the extensions of it, and I think that audience is still just gonna play games natively on their phones, because even you get stuff like the MiHoYo games, and now Fortnite is back everywhere, and people are gonna play stuff like that on their phones. I don't think you're gonna capture that audience, so it still remains to be seen exactly who Xbox Cloud Gaming is for, I suppose.
All right, last handful of stories here. RGG Summit 2025 set for September 2024. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. Publisher Sega and developer Ryoga Gotoku Studio will host RGG Summit 2025 on September 24th at 12 p.m. Japanese summertime, I believe that is. The company's announced the broadcast will feature the latest information from Yakuza, Like a Dragon, the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series that developer RGG is known for. An RGG Direct will follow directly after RGG Summit 2025 with a deeper dive into the announcements. So that might be like where they sit down with the developers and conversate about it. RGG Summit 2024 featured the announcements like a Dragon, Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. This year's edition will likely feature updates on Stranger Than Heaven and possibly the new Virtua Fighter project.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there also is something with Like a Dragon, just maybe another spinoff announced. It might be too soon for one to come out, but yeah, this is a studio that makes a lot of games very quickly, and I want updates on the stuff like Virtua Fighter for sure. And it feels like this might be where we get it. What do you think?
I don't think we do. Well, because I was checking dates here. They very explicitly said more news at Tokyo Game Show, which starts the following day.
Okay. All right. That makes
sense. So I think this is probably going to be, yeah. I saw some people have heart palpitations in chat. No, I think this is going to be focused on like their third-person action games, like Yakuza and Stranger in Heaven.
Stranger in Heaven, I'll take more on that. That game looks fantastic.
That was very fun. Yeah.
That's the Project Century game. That was its code name,
yes,
right?
It just got renamed. Yeah. And yeah, just whatever they're doing there with maybe it's a dude who's immortal or something like that. They're clearly cluing us in that something is different about this. And I think that looks very cool. And I think, yeah, this summit is going to be to talk about those games. And we hear about Virtua Fighter and its own thing during TGS at some point, which I'll take.
I'll
that's
accept
fine.
It.
Yeah.
Yep, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I Stranger Than Heaven, I do hope it is like that. Hey, we are telling a story about a city over 100 years, and we have this character that can jump through all these different things so you can see how things are affected. I always like that concept of the real character is the setting and how it changes. And the only way we do that is if we have a long timeline. That sounds like a cool concept to me. It seems like that's what they're going for, but who knows? We'll see what they're able to pull off here. Saber Chief teases Warhammer 40K Space Marine 3. This is from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. Earlier this year, just months after the rip-roaring success of Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2, Saber Interactive and Focus Entertainment announced they were, working on a sequel. Warhammer 40K Space Marine 3 is likely years away still, but Saber Chief Creative Officer Tim Willits has teased some amazing ideas for the game coming from the Games Workshop. Speaking with IGN, Willits wanted to remain tight-lipped about the project, but did eventually give some tease regarding Space Marine 3. We're working with Games Workshop. They're the best ever, and there's such a rich universe that we're pulling stuff from, and they're giving us some ideas that are amazing. They have given us some really cool ideas. Their brains are just like, wow. So lots of super great ideas from Games Workshop. Admittedly, not a lot to go on there, but it's good to know there's a strong collaboration between the developers and IP owners. Yeah, I had this story higher before I read it, and I was like, okay, it's just kind of reminding everyone that they're making this. But yeah, I always go back to with Saber. They're making a lot of stuff. They are also making this game on top of Toxic Commander and Jurassic Park and Turok and Road Kings and what is it? Docking. There's just a whole bunch of
Docking.
Stuff. Yeah, that's
we can't escape it.
Can't escape it. No, and I'm actually the idea of running like a long shoresman's docking area where it's like we gotta have these giant cranes getting these giant things off of ships. Like
that kind of docking.
Who knows? It could be every kind of docking. I'm not one to judge. I want to see what they're going to do with Space Marine 3 because Space Marine 2 was shockingly good. It was a really good time to play that game, especially in co-op, but it held up in single player as well. And I just think that this is a studio that should be set free to continue down this sort of momentum that they have of delivering cool games and that are not the biggest games in the world, but have a certain level of quality to them. And I want to see it.
I was almost very scared there. I was like, oh no, Space Marine 2 this year as well. No, that was later last year. Okay.
Yeah, so as part of this, I think they are going to have a little bit of an update to Space Marine 2 early next month because that will be the 1-year anniversary of the game. So there was talk of that as well. Finally, Nintendo to add Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed Worlds sounds to Alarmo. Everyone's craving that Alarmo news. Here it is, everybody, from my Nintendo news. Nintendo's adorable alarm clock Alarmo will soon get themes from Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Star-Crossed World. A recent update from Nintendo states that 7 different alarms will be added to Alarmo in the near future, along with themes from Star-Crossed World. The Kyoto-based company says it will share more info on this in the future. But there's a quote there that basically just says all that same stuff. Yeah, I'll take this. Although, where's my Bonanza alarms? I want to wake up to Zebra so bad. Give me that. What's going on here?
Okay. What's the best Kong Bonanza song? Do you still think it's Zebra?
I mean, Zebra's the one that's in my head most frequently. I like them all. What, do you have a different one? Do you have a favorite one now?
I just like the Kong one the best. When she hits the chorus, like it gets me every time, man. Especially towards the end there when you're doing the rehearsals and everything. I love it. It's so much fun.
I love that one as well, for sure. It's but the Zebra is just like, oh, I can't help but dance. Oh my God, this one's, it's in my soul. It's in the bones.
Yeah, you mentioned people looking for Alarmo news. No one's looking for Alarmo news, Jeff.
No,
it's just you. It's you sickos. I know the 3 Alarmo fans, and they all work for this website.
That's right. I was saying it last night. I'm like, man, there should be Donkey Kong Bonanza on here. I'll take Star-Crossed Worlds, though, as well. I need to download that game. All right. That does it for the headlines. Let's get to the poll question, which I have over here. I did see that this got added, thankfully.
Yes.
Sean, you posted that?
I did remember to post it for once when I was in charge of it. Yes.
I know. Last night I was like, that's not Sean's job. I'll go double check. And then I saw that you wrote this and you did the best version of this question. Are you going to get Kirby trademark and the Forgotten Land - Nintendo Switch trademark 2 edition plus Star-Crossed World and or the Kirby trademark and the Forgotten Land - Nintendo Switch trademark 2 edition plus Star-Crossed World upgrade pack?
Yes.
And your options are yes or no. And 39% said yes. 61% said no. I'm picking this up right now. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to go buy this thing and get it on my system. I love Forgotten Land, and
Same.
I'm looking forward to playing more of it. So yeah, so you're anticipating this? You're looking forward to it? It's out now, though. Yeah.
I'm going to wait for a sale because I bought this game as a physical copy, and it was back when I had a little less money, so I don't have that physical copy anymore. Right. I'll wait for a sale on the bundle.
The full thing, yes.
Yeah, even if I get for 60, because it's 80 for the full thing, because it's a $20 upgrade, and they're still charging $60 for that game because Nintendo. But even if I could get for like 60, I would be more okay with it. But ideally, more in like the 40 to 50 range since I've played the full game already. But yeah, I would like to have this game again, have a physical copy of it. That'd be cool. And yeah, I loved Forgotten Land. I thought it was so much fun. I would love to see a sequel to that game, but I'll take the DLC for now.
Yep, I want to see a sequel. I wouldn't mind Nintendo also being like, hey, let's take some of these other characters, maybe do a 3D Yoshi in the same vein, but I'm not getting my hopes up for that. I'll just take the Kirby and the Forgotten Land sequel.
Take the Kirby and run.
Yep, take the Kirby and run. That's what we say over here at Giant Bomb. We have a new poll question we're going to get to here in a second. Before we do that, Sean, you want to tell people where they can find you on the internet, what you have going on, any of that good stuff?
Running the ship while Jan's out for the rest of the week. So, if there's any hiccups, I'm doing my best to keep up. We have a new setup here, so I'm learning a lot. But I think I know everything that went wrong today. I'll have that fixed for tomorrow. GMM should go a little bit smoother. But otherwise, yep, you know where else to find me. TurboShawn, SHAWN, on all the places.
We will be back with more tomorrow, and on that episode, we'll we'll get the results of this poll question. Do you actively use any cloud gaming platform? Yes or no? Those are your options. Just want to see, and that would include Gaikai or OnLive. It would also include...
Jeff, I get so mad when Mike gives you shit because I was an online guy, OnLive guy. I was an online guy.
Yeah, OnLive worked just fine. It
worked surprisingly well. Yeah. I don't know how, considering how bad the console ones are. Back in 10 or 11, I remember playing Arkham City on OnLive, and it actually just worked perfectly well. Maybe it's because I had a 720p laptop at the time. Who can say? But it worked pretty well in that college dorm of mine.
Yep, I definitely use some of that. That's not around anymore, though. So we're talking about your Ant Streams, your NVIDIA GeForce Nows, Xbox Cloud Gaming, PlayStation, whatever the fuck they call it.
PlayStation Gaikai, because that's what they rolled it into.
They did. They bought Gaikai. They bought some OnLive patents as well, I think. So they're the spiritual successor to OnLive now. So we'll get the results of that, talk about it here on Game Mess Mornings, here on Giant Bomb tomorrow. Speaking of Giant Bomb, we will probably still do something with Kirby later today. I was going to drive over to Mike's house and play co-op Kirby with him, but now that I'm feeling a little sicky poo and I don't want to get him sick, I'm not going to do that. So we'll probably just play the Star-Crossed World stuff. I want to just see some of that. So we'll do a GB plays of that later today. And then if you're wondering, hey, wait, what about Voicemail Dump Truck? That's been moved to tomorrow. We moved the Voicemail Dump Truck to tomorrow. So that'll be happening. I think that'll be the last thing we're doing. Let me check the calendar. Yeah, so we're going to do UPF tomorrow at 1 Eastern, and then we'll do Voicemail Dump Truck at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So
yeah, packed Friday.
Packed Friday. There will also be a cool thing with Luminous tomorrow up on the site. So look out for that. All right, let's see here. I think with all that out of the way, what I do now is say thank you, Sean, for helping me talk about video games and for producing the show. I really appreciate it.
I do what I can, Jeff. It's always a fun time.
Thank you all for watching and listening. You are the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Beta Black.